Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the First Time Homebuyers podcast. My name is Tom Sommers. I'm with Coldwell Banker Burnett, and I am in the Minneapolis-St. Paul metro area. My fantastic co-host, Eric McKenna, who's with Remax Advanced, is in the Pittsburgh area. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Good to be here.
Excellent, Eric. So, he always puts a smile on my face. We were just talking about a couple of things here before we started that were really pissing me off, and it's always social media and the insanity of people. So I look forward to these types of things that we do together because it puts me back on track.
Me too.
In our continuing series, for those of you that are aware and the ones that are not aware, right now we're working our way through purchasing a home. So today we are going to talk about choosing your closer and your title company and why that's important, because this is something I think that gets kind of, I wouldn't say brushed under the rug, because they play a very important role, but it's almost like a foregone conclusion that you're working with a specific title company and closer according to your agent, which is not a bad thing. But we thought we would at least talk about what their functions are and how they assist you, because we've been preaching this since the first episode. We think that you need a team of advocates working on your behalf to put this together. So, Eric, do you want to
Sure.
get her started? And
Absolutely. And I will just basically reiterate what we've said week in and week out, and that is trust in your realtor. Trust in the referrals. We've talked about the loans. We've talked about the home inspection. When it comes to closing, Tommy's right. Oftentimes, it's just a foregone conclusion or an assumption. And let's face it, a closing company is not a sexy thing out there. It doesn't have the same presence in the marketplace, but it's such an important component of your closing. These are the good people that are going to put everything together. They're going to get in touch with both agents in the transaction. They may even touch in with the home inspector. They're going to talk to the appraiser. They're going to put everything together, and especially the mortgage company, and tie it all up in the end to make sure that every piece of the puzzle that's required for you to purchase the home has been accounted for and presented to you at closing. So when you walk out of that closing, you are legal 100% to own the property that you work so hard to get to. It's an extremely important thing. Tommy and I have both listed homes as well as obviously work with buyers, and our podcast is about buying a home. We've seen probably, I'm speaking for Tommy, but I'm going to guess, over the course of our careers, we've seen some average closing companies when we've been on the listing end, buyers using various companies, and we've also know who we like to work with because we've seen the good and the bad. And I will tell you, I try to refer a very outstanding company here in Pittsburgh that is quick, efficient, great rates, and they've just been vetted. And again, it goes back to trusting your realtor. I recommend this closing company because I've used them. They've done great work for my buyers. And again, trust in your realtor. Very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to take it a step further and say that being part of a team also is communication for all of us, not only with you as a client, but just with the other people who are working on your behalf.
Absolutely.
The people that I typically use, I have two different companies that I use for different reasons. They all have a wonderful staff that if I reach out to them, not only will they get back to me, but one of the most important pieces is I know that the minute that you have a signed purchase agreement on a home that you're buying, I turn that paperwork over to the loan officer so they have it. But we also fill out a bunch of paperwork so that the title company gets it as well. These people will actually look at the title work as soon as it comes back and the file. So within the first 5 days or so of you signing that purchase agreement, they've got the information, because I'm the guy who's got to run and help solve problems.
That's right.
I can't do that if you try to save $50 and you hire a title company that doesn't look at the file till 2 days before closing and realizes that there's something that's wrong that needs to be corrected on, say, maybe the legal description.
Right.
So again, this is another one of those situations where it's not worth saving $100 to totally screw up your closing.
That's exactly right. And I think what happens also too is that Uniquely, once in a while, as a home buyer, you may get a referral to a closing company from your lender. If you're using a third party lender that your agent might not be familiar with, they may be tied in some capacity or just like to refer a certain company. And what I'm stating to you is what Tommy has just stated here is there's got to be synergy. If you're going to use us as your agent, trust us, but also understand we need to be able to interact with this closing company from the moment you come under agreement, because getting them the paperwork of the sales contract, identifying the townships that you're purchasing or the municipality you're buying the home in, all of the particulars about the lien letters, and there's a lot of moving parts. And the sooner you choose your closing company, you put your faith in your realtor, and the moment they can start on the process, they got a great chance of closing on time. You have a great chance. But if you delay that, and if you are going to try to save $50 because XYZ is $59 less expensive than our chosen company, you'll pay for it. I'm being as blunt as I possibly can be. You more than likely will not close on time. The synergy between all the moving parts won't be there. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth the $50.
Yeah, and it's going to end up costing you a lot more than $50 if it gets delayed.
Absolutely.
Some of the other things that you want to be aware of when choosing a title company, because the closer and the title company pretty much go hand in hand. The closer is the one who actually does the paperwork and sits with you at closing with your agent, but they work for the title company. There's a thing called gap. And when you purchase a home, at least here in the state of Minnesota, sometimes it can be up to 4 months before the county actually puts you in record as the new owner. That's the gap from the time you close to the time you get into title. That gap coverage has to be covered by the title insurance policy that you purchase, because during that time frame, that's when there could be the most likelihood of a chance where someone may come forward and say, well, I put a deck on and they didn't pay me, whatever it might be.
Right.
Your title insurance will pay for any of those things, so there's no other out-of-pocket expense. So you want to make sure that you have that. Another thing is, if you're purchasing a foreclosure, for God's sakes, don't use that bank's title company, because I've seen them literally just sweep stuff under the rug that there's just no way it would fly. And guess what? Then you come to find out 5 years from now, when you want to go to sell, that you've got a $2,500 problem that has to be fixed before you can sell. So if you're purchasing a foreclosure, I know we're getting off track here a little bit, but you want to make sure that you get what they call a marked up title binder. And what a marked up title binder does is it shows the chain of everything they went through when they put the insurance policy on this house. So you also want to know who your insurance coverer is, because let's say that title company falls apart and goes bye-bye. Well, guess what? You end up having a title problem moving forward. If you don't have the insurance and all the information, it's as good as worthless to you.
I agree. I sorry to interrupt you. I just and again, Tommy got very specific here, which is good, because I think that what we want to be is strong on content. But if any of that might sound a little overwhelming to you as a whole, let me just tie this up in a nice bow for you. You want a title company with a title officer, the person running your closing, to be outstanding. You want them to have a relationship with your realtor, because here's why. You want to leave that closing fully understanding everything you signed. And I will assure you, a great title officer is going to take the time during that closing, and every step of the way, if you haven't even learned along the way completely, because it's a lot, you will know every single step of what you signed when you leave. It is imperative. You don't want it rushed. You don't want things brushed over here or glossed over there. You want a title company and a title officer at that closing that Tommy and I both work with, know of, and will take the time, knowing you are our client and their client. You will leave there with complete understanding. That's so imperative.
Yes, and it's not just foreclosures too. We've had situations where people have bought traditional sales and they go to sell their house 5 years from now. Now, I wasn't the agent at the time, but you get there, and then the first thing we typically do when we list a house is we do a title pull, a search, just to make sure there aren't any problems. And we've had many occasions where something has come up that's taken 6 to 8 weeks to resolve. Well, that's really tough to do after you have a buyer who's ready to purchase and you have agreed to a closing of the end of the month, and you're just finding this out now. It's going to This is such an important step. And
It
to
is.
Eric's point, we're not trying to overwhelm you. We're just trying to give you content and explain to you, here's our value as realtors.
Right.
Showing you a house, whoopity doo. Anyone can look it up online now to
Yep.
give you everything.
Yep.
With the exception of, the front door key.
Mhm.
Other than that, so our value as realtors is getting you from writing that offer through closing and all of these other
Absolutely.
things. And lots of times we don't even mention this stuff to you. We'll tell you about it, but we're
Right.
working on it for you on your behalf in the background, along with all of the other wonderful people that are a part of this, whether it be the mortgage person or their
Mhm.
underwriters, the title company, and all of that. It all ties together, and it's important that you have that whole group of advocates.
And you want it to be seamless and smooth. I mean, let's face it. Once you come under agreement, you're really emotionally ready to go, and you're ready to be in that house. Well, you cooperate with your the amount that you need to do. You cooperate with us, and we will place you with the best people to get you to close on time. It's pretty simple. It
Yep.
really is. And I just went through a closing yesterday. It was as smooth as silk, and my client looked at me and said, "Eric, this wasn't hard at all." And I said, "Well, I said, you know what, you guys have been fantastic. I mean, there were some underwriting issues, but you used the lender we worked with was great. The underwriting process was a little challenging, but we got through it. The home inspector." And they said to me, "Man, I can't imagine if we had tried to go out on our own and found all those parts of the puzzle." I said, "We probably wouldn't have closed on time." And it was a good lesson, even for me as a realtor, to be reminded that synergy, all the moving parts working together, is so important. So
Yes.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, we're not going to beat the issue up, but it is. It's all about getting your team together. So,
Hmm.
as always, we welcome questions, comments. If you're not in the Pittsburgh area or the Minneapolis-St. Paul area and you're looking for a realtor, reach out to us. We provide a
Absolutely.
service that's free to you to help you
Mhm.
find a good realtor in your area.
Right.
Next week, we will be talking about home insurance. We're going to cover home insurance for single family homes and what type of insurance you want if you're buying a townhome or condo. We're not insurance guys, but we're just going to give you some
Right.
basics.
Absolutely.
So thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
You betcha. Thanks so much, guys.